Good day. I'm Richard Palestro, representing the Rocky Mountain Philatelic Library and the Rocky Mountain Stamp Show as the moderator for the presentation you're about to see, explaining the military censorship of mail in Costa Rica between 1948 and 1954. Our presenter is Francisco Perez. Francisco is an MBA graduate from the Inca Business School and is the director of the Center of Entrepreneurship at Inca. He has been collecting Costa Rica and Panama for 20 years and is co-founder and president of the Philately Club of Tibasin, Costa Rica. Francisco has been a member of the APS since 2006, is an FIP accredited juror on postal history since 2016. Please welcome Francisco.
Well, thank you so much for being here. This is part of a study that's been done for the past 9 years, maybe more. And before advancing, I would like to settle two concepts. The first one will be privacy of correspondence, which is a right normally preserved under the Constitution of each country. I think in the US is the Fourth Amendment, the one that protects the privacy of the correspondence. And this is important because we will be talking about how this right can be derogated. So the way to do that is through postal censorship. And postal censorship is the opening, reading, and total or selective obliteration of letters, normally performed by governments. This is our two main concepts that we are going to talk about today. And censorship in Costa Rica it's been well documented. We have some instances of World War I incoming mail. World War II also, Álvaro Castro, who is here, just published a very thorough article about the censorships of World War II. You can get in touch to him and he can give you maybe a copy of the Timbre, which is our magazine. But here today, we're going to be talking about internal conflicts of Costa Rica between 1948 and 1955. Just to mention previous research on this subject, and these two gentlemen are here in the room. Álvaro Castro published an article about this, and also Luis Fernando Diaz. I use this as a basis, and at the time of these articles, 2010, only 6 covers were reported from this internal conflict period. 4 from December 1948 and 2 from January 55. So how does this study begins? After 2010, a new cover appeared with this censorship label, which I will show you briefly. But the dates were different. So a new research was needed to trying to explain why a different date when normally that subject was settled. Only December and only January 55. So this is the label. I just want you to show it right away. That's type 1. There are 2 types. And the first time it was used was between March and April 1948. The origins of the conflict, I won't get too much into politics, but basically since 1944, let's say, there was some unrest in Costa Rica because in 1944, in the election of 1944, there was some violence against citizens. Fast forward 4 years, 1948, the government decided not to recognize the results of the election of 1948. Therefore, a guy that was introduced to you by Luis Fernando Diaz, Jose Figueres Ferrer, the one in that stamp, make an insurrection. And a civil war began and lasted for a bit more than 1 month. The casualties, somewhere I read 2,000 of this insurrection, and basically there is no decree or no decree has been found authorizing the establishment of the censorship. Normally, because these are rights protected by a constitution, the only way to change that is through a decree from the president. So up to this moment, no proof has been found, at least not by me or by these two gentlemen here. A little bit more detail on type 1. So those are the measures. I take the time to show you this because there is a second type, slightly different. So this is period 1, between March and April 1948. So here you have, on the right-hand side, the first cover reported. On this period, only 6 have been reported so far. And it's a cover sent on March 16th, 3-4 days after the insurrection started. And this is a railway mail, ambulante, which we call in our country, sent from Limon to Turrialba. The second one, sent to the US, is the one of 2 registered mails from this period, for the whole period of internal conflicts. It was sent to a future fighter of the Liberación Nacional, which is called in Spanish, or a relative, I'm sorry, of the future fighter. As you can see, the legend was hand-printed before the fact on those labels, and then they were attached to the cover. This is the third one. It's a cover sent to Ancon, Canal Zone, and then you have the label on the backside. The fourth is the first incoming mail with the censorship label. The dates are uncertain. It was sent from Guatemala on the 23rd of March, and there is no proof when it arrived. Probably late March, early April. Fifth of 6, cover sent to the US, only the label on one side. And the last one is this one, which was sent from Limon to Turrialba, to the same dealer that I mentioned on the first one. And this is the only cover known with the red label. So just to clarify something, I have not found any documentation about how this worked. If a proper office was established, how it was staffed, who was in charge, there is nothing on National Archives, at least as I have researched. So this ends the first period, only 6 covers known, all between half March, half April 1948. Back of the cover. And this is pretty much the same spirit, the picture that Luis Fernando showed you. That's Jose Figueres Ferrer in the Cuartel Bellavista, or Bellavista Fortress, showing that he won the insurrection. The army was abolished on April 1st, right, 1948. So period 2, which is the one at some point researched by Alvaro and Luis Fernando, still it uses type 1 label on it. You can see here what happened is the losing team, which was represented by Calderón Guardia, tried to invade it or destabilize the country again. So there is a decree, Decree 300 for December 11, where it explicitly says that all individual guarantees are suspended for a 30-day period. Again, there is no information about how will this be done, where the office will be, in which country, in which postal office, etc. So here we have 13 covers. The first one, this is the early one known, December 13. Again, the same label. And here you will find something that just recently appeared, which is a signature. You see the M, A, Ayub on the left-hand side down. That's, on my opinion, that's a signature from censorship officer. This is the second iteration of the censorship under Jose Figueres Ferrer, leadership. Finally, someone is responsible for opening the letters. So there are signatures. And then we have other signatures on the label, on the bad-hand side. Period 1 doesn't have any signatures, only the covers on period 2. This is the second. Actually, it carries on checks sent from Siquirres, which is an Atlantic town, to Don Jose Pasos, Jesus Pasos, I'm sorry, this is the third one to Jesus Pasos. This one to the US. Postage due cover. It's the only postage due one on this set. Then you have a signature also, different one though, nearby the label and the part of the cover that was open. Another incoming mail. This is the second one for the overall exercise, but the first one for the period 2. This one is interesting. Please pay attention. This is an urgent cover sent to Costa Rica on the 14th. And it has other signatures, different ones. 5 of 13, local cover. One to the US. This one is interesting, and I will ask later why. The 7, this is the most recent one that appeared on the market like 1 week ago. It's sent to the US, then again you have the signatures, different signatures. We don't know who they are. Second incoming mail. And in this case, the ink is red. There are like 3 instances where the ink instead of blue is red. So this is one of those. 9-1. This is the second registered cover from the period and the only one with a local register label. In Costa Rica, registration labels don't have any value. It's just like a label, information label. So, registered, sent to Colón. The second one sent also to Canal Zone. Third incoming mail from Venezuela in this case, December 20. A signature is in there. And this is an interesting cover because it was sent on August. I think this is the only incoming from the USA. It was sent in August to Heredia, which is a small town. But it wasn't delivered for almost 6 months. And then you have the red ink, and it was returned in December when the label was put on it. And then you have signatures there also. 12 or 13, cover sent to Canal Zone. Again, red ink, it will be like the 5th instance of it. And then you have signatures in there. The last one, another incoming mail. So at this point, I have 2 questions for you. One is, were there any cover without a signature from the second period? Yeah, there is one. This one. And then I have a second question. From the incoming mails from Honduras, do they have any relationship among the covers? Every single one coming from Honduras is addressed to the Madrigal family, and 3 of those were opened. So moving on, I will fast forward to period 3. Period 3, almost 8 years later, 1955, when there was a lot of hectic things going on in Central America, dictatorships coming into power in Guatemala and whatnot. So Calderón Guardia, which was the sworn enemy of Figueres, try to get into Costa Rica again with the help of Anastasio Somoza. Somoza hated Figueres because Somoza thought that Figueres was helping the other side against him, so he happily helped. Calderón Guardia will be a second failed attempt to make a coup. Calderón Guardia is the one with the sunglasses in the upper picture. He is a past president of Costa Rica, and he is like a polemic figure as well as Figueres because Calderón Guardia is recognized as a reformer, a social reformer in terms of health and other aspects. However, he also had really bad blood about these conflicts and these rivalries. And then on the right-hand side down, we have Figueres with his general taking a look at his newly minted Air Force, probably one plane, but they did the show. And then I found a decree number 2, that actually explains why there was a censorship on that period. So again, it suspended individual guarantees. Number 24 is the one that we care, correspondence privacy. And again, for a period of 30 days. There is no further information regarding how it will operate. And in this period, they use a second one, type 2, on the bottom of the screen. I wanted to show you because there was a change in typography, and in the next slide we are going to look at the sizes. But the main difference are the typography and the way it was used. So this one is 1 millimeter higher than type 1, and is 3 millimeters shorter overall of type 1. How many covers do you believe are reported from this period? There are 2 covers. There's the first one. And one difference here is that there is no signature again. Nobody signed for this. This was 8 years later from the second period. And they applied the hand stamp on both sides, which is another difference. Period 1 and 2, type 1 is only applied on one side. And the last cover will be this one. Again, same label, type 2, applied on both sides. So that's the last one. So in total, so here as a way of summary, there you go, 3 periods. The first conflict, Civil War, 1948. President Teodoro Picado, which was the one who refused to recognize the results of the election. 6 reported covers so far. Second period, invasion, 48. The president was Santos León Herrera, but it's a well-known fact that behind the throne, José Figueres was the one ruling the country. 13 covers. And then, when Figueres was finally president, Calderón Guardia tried to sneak in again, and there are 2 covers, both sent to Guatemala. There are other important observations. So 6 cover reported, 1 incoming, censorship type 1, and no signatures. The 2, this is a way of a summary for you or the viewers on the internet, 2 registered for incoming, 1 from the US, and signatures from censorship agents in all but 1. And the last one, period 3, January 55th, 1 month, 30 days, 2 covers reported. Type 2, a new type, and no signatures, and apply for in both sides of the label. A different way to visualize the results of this small census. So 13, right in the middle, December 1948, period 2. Left, period 1, March and April 1942. And then January 1955. The one place that if you wanted to look at a not updated version in Spanish of this research, that's the link, that's the web project that Rich mentioned. It's called Philateca, www.philateca.com. And then there are several articles, some written by me, some republished with authorization from, for example, the main sheet, the late Brian Morehouse, and other several articles. The goal of this project is to make ready available the information that is in many collectors' rooms. And also, this is one of the pictures, courtesy of Don Álvaro. I think that's the Air Force of Costa Rica at the time. This is from 1955, from the third period. This is our recent violent history, which is reflected on the stamps. Nowadays, we are recognized as a garden of peace, beautiful land, and we rank quite nice in the happiness index. So that's our Costa Rica, and that's some hidden history about it. Thank you so much.
Two questions. Were there any contents in any of these letters?
No, as I am aware. No.
No contents?
No.
And where did you find these letters?
Well, mainly those are now in Álvaro Castro's collection, and they've come through different dealers, different resources, normally unaware what they were selling, I must confess. Nice.
I got a question or comment or need to go back
Yeah.
to the first group, the second cover. Put the back of this one. All right, that should be. It says Berkeley, California, March 21,
Via New Orleans on the
1948. And then it passed through New Orleans?
Yes,
New Orleans.
to RMPL.
And it left. Now
The
we got
country?
the dates. It left
On the 18th, so 1 day later.
1 day later.
Yeah. 1 day later, it did transit on.
No, what is interesting regarding that is that it left San Jose it was posted on the 18th.
On the 18th, yeah. 5 days after.
It left how many days after?
The next day.
At least. And then it was
Or the same day, actually, because the next day it has a transit mark from the airfield of New Orleans.
that's what I wanted to mention. You see how come a censor was produced in a so short time?
Oh, maybe there were some U.S. airplanes.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
It was done immediately.
Yeah.
They were behind the post office doors.
Well, you have to
is it?
remember that this guy's, the one sending this is the wife of this guy, and he was part of the Liberation Army.
Yeah, Rafael Lucas Rodriguez.
Probably telling, dude, come
He
fast.
was yes. What I'm trying to say is that it's really rare having a cover which is getting into the post office in a day, namely March 18th, and it's arriving in New Orleans on the 19th. Suppose it is captured the very moment it is deposited in the.
Oh, probably it never went into the box.
No, he had to.
As
because
you know-
it's a registered one. He had
Oh, yes,
to go
yes,
to
okay,
the
yeah,
post
yeah,
office.
yeah.
So it was captured in the post office. Okay, when was it released? For censorship mail to be released within 2 days is a crazy thing.
There's no time on the.
Well, maybe there wasn't nothing.
Sure, but isn't that amazing?
Yeah. The fast
I
tracking of
find
the
it
mail
I
is
find
amazing.
it very
Yes.
impressive.
It is.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you so much, Fernando.
You asked for the comment about a violent Costa Rica. I can seem to remember that my history and international instruction suggested to me that Costa Rica was not necessarily a peaceful regime through about 1930. I seem to remember something about rojos or something like this, and armies that were fighting, or revolutionary fighters.
1917, there
It
was
was-
a coup d'etat.
It was another coup d'état, but
And before that, we in the region, I'm talking 1840,
yeah.
we were known as a very violent country in terms of
Okay,
war. Yeah.
okay.
So this whole peace thing is after 48.
Became a very modern phenomenon because you were tired of killing each other off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
Okay. Now, one thing I don't understand, that's probably because I wasn't here earlier.
okay.
I have a very definitive definition of military. That is army, army, army. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't understand the military censorship here. Was this by a Guardia Civil or a...
It was
or
by the government.
But it was not an army. There was not an army in existence.
That's an interesting question. Up to the second period, there was an army. For
Okay.
the third period, there was no army.
Okay, but why then the military? I said, well, this had to be Guardia Civil or Revolution Army or et cetera, or police force.
No,
To
actually,
use military, to use the term military in the absence of an army.
so for the first two periods, there was an actual army. The army
Thank
was abolished supposedly on paper on December the 1st, 1948. On paper. But you are right on the third period. That's 1955. However, the army was abolished 8 years earlier because of the issues still with Calderón Guardia.
Yeah.
Probably Figueres had a small private army or of his own, but also they use on the label the word military
Okay.
in that third period when you can argue that there was no military in the country.
Well, I found this subject fascinating when I first saw it because in my readings of military censorship and censorship covers, of which you know that there are millions of them throughout the world, I'd never heard of Costa Rica military.
Anyone?
Any other questions?
Has any attempt been made since the 1948 wasn't all that long ago
Yeah.
to reach out to the former military people to through social media and kind of ask
No.
if anybody knows anything about this?
No, but while I was preparing this presentation, I realized that I have a contact with a past security minister, Rogelio Ramos, which kind of knows a lot about this. So I'm definitely going to present him the article and interview him to let's see if there was some secret, I don't know, manual about how this was done. That's part of what's next. Yes, sir. And
It was a movement. It's about the 80s, 70s and 80s. Name is Movimiento Costa Rica Libre.
yeah,
It was a private movement
far right.
trying to reinstall a military within the government. It failed. It wasn't successful. The society didn't accept that. Thank you.
I mean, Costa Ricans kind of believed that we were a peaceful country after the 48 media frenzy. Yes, sir.
Any of the letters inside the envelope?
No, contents? No, no contents.
Never got it.
No. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for everything.
I would like to thank Francisco Perez for his highly informative presentation on the little-known aspects of military censorship in Costa Rica following the events of 1948. For further information, please visit Francisco's website.
On behalf of the Rocky Mountain Philatelic Library, I'd like to thank you for having taken the time to visit with us on this video. You'll find that this is one of a number of videos that we've produced over the years in the effort to provide educational services to the stamp collecting public. The Rocky Mountain Philatelic Library is located in Denver, Colorado at 2038 South Pontiac Way. Our hours are 10 to 4, 5 days a week, with 1 day of extended hours. The library offers collectors of every kind and to the general public a host of materials that are related to stamp collecting and world history. There are over 60,000 journals contained in 800 specific journals. We have a map room, we have special collections devoted to individual countries, and we have special libraries that are devoted to individual countries. For further information about the Rocky Mountain Philatelic Library, we invite you to visit the library or visit us online at our website,